Live on WFLA Now. This is Run for Fun with running enthusiast Lee Spann.
All right, let's go. Welcome back to the Stream Center for this week's episode of Run for Fun. We hope this show helps more people foster a love of running and exercise that's, not just focused on getting faster and running as hard as you can. There is a place for that, but there's so much room for slowing down and letting your body recover. And this method allows you to spend the time actually enjoying the run. And that's how it becomes a part of your life for years to come. So I'm your host, Lee Spann. I'm the morning meteorologist at WFLA in Tampa, but I'm also an avid runner. And like most people, I thought, when I first started, how hard can running be, right? You put your shoes on, you go, and you come home. That's it. Well, the more that you try to be consistent, the more questions come up. And I was lucky enough to find a group of runners who continue to teach me how to be a better runner. And that's where Coach Maria is, of course, the leader of that group, back from her July 4th vacation, looking rested and beautiful as always.
Thank you. I missed you last week.
Yeah.
It was hard not to be on the show, but we had a really fun time. Even though my son was away, it was kind of tough. He's an officer candidate school for the Marine Corps right now. So we didn't get to spend our 4th of July together. We still made the best of it and had a good time. So
I was going to say that you always run a race, but you carried his picture around. So
yes,
he
we
didn't
carried
miss the
his
family
picture
race.
the whole race. So and mostly just so that he wouldn't lose his streak, because he has a 10-year streak on that course now. So I'm like, I can't let him lose it. I'm just going to take his picture.
I think that is awesome, because I was saying last week that, if you watch many of our episodes, that July 4th is one of your favorite holidays. So I was glad that even a virtual Sam was there. So that was good.
It was funny. Like we talk about this in races all the time. Like it is what you make of it. And, during COVID, it was our tradition and we still ran it. We still ran the course, even though it wasn't a race.
Official.
So we really have done, we've made streaks. So if you can't keep your streak alive, try to think outside the box.
Right. And
it makes it more fun.
You did look like you had a wonderful time. So welcome back. First of all, while you were gone, just in the last few days, our Strava group has hit that 300 mark. So
that's so exciting.
So we've been counting up. It was like 297 one week, and then it was 298 one week. So if you don't know, Strava, you can download it onto your phone. It tracks all of your walks and all of your runs. And then you can also join our WFLA Run for Fun group, and that's what this is. And not only can you get to know other runners and other walkers in our area, but you can ask the questions, which is kind of what we're focusing in on today, is sort of the advice. I mentioned it at the top, when I was introducing the show. When you're just starting to run, it's like, how hard can running be? And then you do it on a regular basis and you think, okay, now what kind of gear do I need? Why is this thing hurting that's never hurt before? So there's a lot of questions that I thought, let's answer some of those, because I had to wait until I met a group of people. So that's what you can join in on our Strava group and continue to ask those questions.
Absolutely. We love to answer questions, and there really isn't a secret to it. So you just kind of have to go out and do it and not be afraid of it. And we'll talk more about that in the coach's drill, but it really is about consistency and getting out there, over the course. I always tell people, you can't tell me that you hate running until you've been consistent for 6 weeks and doing it correctly, so that your body has to adapt to it. And nobody likes running at first. I don't think there are very many people that just go out and step out that front door and run their first time and just love it. That doesn't happen. So be patient with yourself, be consistent, and over time, you will see some benefits.
There's a lot of joy that comes from it. And you'd posted this on your Instagram, and I snagged it off there, because the secret is there is no secret. And I think that goes for life, exercise, your anything you're trying to do. The quote is, the secret is there is no secret. Consistency over intensity, progress over perfection, and fundamentals over fads. And then doing this over and over and over again. And that's, as a client of Maria's, this is her screaming it from the
Absolutely. It is. And it's so hard in the world of social media, where everybody has a quick fix and a quick way to do something. And you can see, you can see progress with a fad for a short amount of time, but if you want something to benefit you over your lifetime, you really have to get those fundamentals correct before you can go with the fad. So that's what this show is about, and we hope you guys all listen.
And we're going to bring in our guest today, which, if you're a WFLA news viewer, you might recognize Meredith Sensulo. Hey, Meredith, thanks for joining
Hi.
us.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you and to be back on the set in a sense. So
Virtually as well. So
absolutely.
Meredith and I worked very closely in a little dark corners of studios for many years. And, you know, me being a more of a consistent runner, she always kind of not scoffed at, but just sort of said, I
It
can't.
gave you some shade for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. So then I see on social media that Meredith Sensulo is now running on a regular basis. So one of the things I love so much is your origin story as to why this even started. So why don't you let everyone know why you started this after all these years?
So I now work for the Bradenton Police Department, a small police department just south of Tampa. And for the longest time, when I first started, I would sit in on our recruiting meetings because the police department was launching a sponsored recruit program where we actually take candidates and we will put them through the law enforcement academy. And then once they complete the academy, they become sworn officers with the Bradenton Police Department. And part of those discussions were, the very basics. What is the very least you need to be able to do in order to be accepted into the academy? And that included, I think, 25 sit-ups, 25 push-ups, and then a 1.5 mile run. So I'm sitting there absorbing this and thinking to myself, okay, I am not a healthy person, meaning I'm not a large person, but I don't eat great. I definitely don't drink enough water. I don't get enough sleep. And, now that I have, for the most part, an office job, I'm not really getting any physical activity. So that was sort of my benchmark, thinking if these people that are looking to become law enforcement officers if this is the very least they need to do just to be accepted into the academy, let me start with that and see where I'm at. So that was kind of how this started. How many sit-ups can I do? How many push-ups can I do? And can I even run around our building? And so that's kind of how this started. And then over time, I started to realize, I don't like running, but I like how I feel after I've done it. And for me, it's really more obviously about the health benefit overall. Because if I'm running, then I'm drinking more water, and I'm getting some of that energy out that's pent up after sitting in an office. But I just mentally felt good about doing it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to like this.
That's what we
So-
love. We love when people make that turn that corner and be like, you know what, this is
Yeah.
that after doing it consistently, you feel. I remember when my husband said to me for the first time, I feel like I need to go for a run. And that's when he's like, I can't believe that is coming out of my mouth. It's when your body says, hey, I would like to go do this.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. And
crazy.
I don't know if my body says I would like to go do it.
Not yet.
But I do feel there are just those days where I do look forward to it from the sense that I just need to get this energy out. And I always know I will feel better after I do it, even if I'm not overly motivated to do it. And so I shoot for at least 3 days a week. If I do more, I do more. But so it's been beneficial in that, I definitely feel good once I've done that. And I think it is making a difference for me.
And
That
yes,
I'm dying to know, when you first did it, how far could you go?
So when I first started, I tried out running across the Green Bridge, which is, one of the smaller bridges here over the Manatee River. And across and back, it's maybe a mile to 1.5 miles. And so I first started, okay, how far can I go before I have to walk? So and I slowly was able to increase how much of that I was able to actually jog. I joke and I say it's rage jogging because I'm getting out energy. But then I switched to sort of my own little Meredith circuit that I made up where I'm running around our building a couple of times and then I'm running up and down the ramps of our parking garage. So it's not really a extreme distance. It's maybe, 2 miles total. But for me, it's how have I been able to increase the amount of running versus the amount of walking. So for me, that's kind of what I celebrate versus
Yeah, that's amazing.
increasing that distance.
That's really important. And that's the only, like, people think they have to run marathons to be a runner. And I'm like, no, 2 or 3 miles is actually is considered distance running, believe it or not. That is not 10, 15, 20 miles. You don't have to do that to be good at running. I mean, it's actually much more beneficial for you to be doing it the way you're doing it than for us.
Well,
Because we're a
that's
little
good. I feel
crazy.
better.
Yeah.
And she is running in sort of in the heat of the day, right? I mean, toward the end of your shift.
Wow,
So
good for you.
it's hot out there.
What time are
Yeah.
you running?
So I run right around 5 o'clock. Because I know. But here's Meredith. Despite getting up in the middle of the night for many, many years, working on morning TV shows, I'm not like Lee. I can't just wake up super early and go for a run. Like, so I have always, even when I used to go to the gym, I change into my, gym clothes or my running clothes or whatever before I even leave work. And then I do that because I know once I'm done, I'm done. I can go home, I can take a shower, and then, I can just, be a couch potato for the remainder of my evening. But also too, when I started this endeavor, I lived pretty far from work. And it was also a way for me to sort of eat up some of that, time, meaning I would rather do this and, get this energy out versus sit in traffic and then get home. So that was sort of baked into it. But yeah, so I'm running and it's hot in the later part of the day. But that's also too running in the parking garage, which is right behind the police department. It's cooler. So that's helpful. And I get that I get my heart rate up, I think, from running up the ramps. As you could see, they're pretty steep. So that's for me, it's, I kind of jog and then I sprint up those ramps and then, I jog on the, more, I don't know, flat portions
I
of the
love
park.
that you're doing naturally what I teach people to do when they start running, which is set yourself up for success. You are literally habit stacking and setting yourself up for success every time. I love that. That's what helps with the consistency to know, hey, this is what I need to do in order to keep this going. That's awesome.
Yay. Oh, look at me being
look at
accomplished.
you.
You are a teacher's pet without even knowing.
So one of the questions I first got from Meredith once I realized that she was starting to run on a more consistent basis was socks. So so Maria, you want to talk about some suggestions for people
Yeah,
who
I mean, I'm kind of a bad person to talk to about socks because I don't wear socks. and I know that sounds crazy, but I get blisters when I wear socks. So I have tried every sock out there. I have a couple of other runners that actually have had that same problem. So I don't know what it is, especially in the summer, but people swear by, is it Janji, the toe socks?
Oh, I've not tried those.
Yeah, they're like really annoying to put on, but they like have a little space for each one of your toes. People swear by those. And also Features has like a really thin wicking sock.
And that's what Lee had mentioned to me.
Yeah, it can help. They don't work for me. Sorry, Features.
I hate wearing socks. Like,
Well, then try not wearing them.
I guess I could. Because I had reached out to Lee and I'm like, I feel like I have swamp feet and it really grosses me out.
Oh, it grosses me out too, but I've had to get over it. Yeah.
Well, so she had pointed out the moisture wicking socks, but then, and this is how much of a novice I am. She's like, well, you got to make sure you put them on the right feet. And I was like, oh, that's a thing.
Yeah, like they have compression for your for your arches. So I was like, yes, you have to do what your your socks are going to tell you which foot they go on. And sometimes
Well,
when
mine weren't telling me that, Lee. They
they-
were not
you
communicating.
gotta listen. You gotta listen.
There's a little R and a little
Little-
L.
Mine don't have that though. Like the socks that I have,
Right,
they
right.
don't. I'm like, but it makes so much sense. Like kindergartners or whatever usually have that on their socks. Why don't grown adults?
Yes.
So now I know.
And but a lot of shoes, Maria, are made so that you can go sockless. It's never been something I like to do, but aren't there some shoes that are better because they don't have little, like the insoles or whatever are better?
I don't know that you should be wearing no socks, to be honest. It's just because you're sweating so much through your feet and it will wear your shoes out faster. And then also your family members will just hate you because it smells so bad. But I just hide my shoes in places so that my husband will stay with me. But I really I get blisters if I wear socks in the summer and I don't. Sometimes I'll change shoes in the middle to make it a little less, but I've learned to just when I get a new pair of shoes, sometimes I'll wear a sock for 3 or 4 days just to feel like I'm
Saving it.
not. But then as soon as I get a blister, I'm like, why am I doing this? So I don't know. With 2 or 3 miles, I think you could go without socks and be just fine.
All right. Well, I might try that because I just invested in new shoes.
That was going to be my next topic, is that you're like, wow, look what a difference when you have new shoes.
I know. Well, and Lee can attest to this. I'm a heels girl. I give me heel
Tall.
all day,
Yeah.
every day. So very tall. And so I don't love sneakers. But yes, so finally when the pair that I was using, they were Brooks.
Mhm.
The ghosts, ghosts, something or other. And they were starting to get ripped on the inside and my feet just really didn't feel good. And I was like, oh God, I think I have to buy new running shoes. This is terrible.
Yeah.
And so I did go ahead and buy a last year's model because I'm not there yet. Meredith is not going to invest in the new model.
I always buy last year. So if I can get away with buying 2 years past, it's even better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I bought, and again, this is also how bad I am. I don't go to a running store and, hey, tell me what I need to buy. Meredith's one of those online quiz people. So, but these seem to work. I got the glycerin.
Okay. So,
and they seem fun.
Yeah. So as Maria has worked at a running store, so would you like to tell her some of the benefits of we've done actually, Meredith, an entire show because we know how intimidating going to a running store can be because you think, I'm not a runner, I don't know what I'm talking about. That's what people like Maria are for.
Yeah, I will tell you though, if you're running 2 to 3 miles 3 times a week, you don't need to go to a running store. Unless
I am living today.
You really are.
I will tell you with the caveat that unless you're in pain. The one thing that we tell people in the running shoe store is don't overcomplicate it. If it feels comfortable on your foot, then that's the right shoe for you. So I wouldn't I say that in that as long as it's a running shoe built for running, you're okay. And Brooks is a great company. They are all about running. So that's okay. I wouldn't go out and put Nike Freeze on that you use for your, training in the gym or whatever. I wouldn't use those type of shoes or some, random canvas sneakers. But as long as you have a running shoe, you can't really mess it up if you're running 3 times a week. Now, if you decide to go over 3 miles, I would definitely suggest going to a running shoe store and getting fitted because the longer you're in the shoe, the more that matters.
So when one wants to go a little farther and they go into the running store, what are some of the things that they can expect?
They look at usually, well, it depends on the running shoe store, but the one I worked in, they would look at how balanced you are. They look at your feet. They look at how you jog on the treadmill. Sometimes they'll take you outside to see how you jog to make sure that your ankles are not turning in or out. And we're looking for imbalances that can cause, pain later on down the road. Very hard to do if you're running 3 days a week, 20 to 30 minutes. That's a pretty safe distance to get away with a lot of things. But if you ever want to go more than that, you definitely should go to a running shoe store.
And Meredith, have you felt any uncomfortable, oh, why is this Why is this feeling like this?
So that's what kind of led me to see that probably I needed to buy new ones because I felt a lot of pressure and rubbing on the outside, my toes, kind of like my pinky toes, like it just was not feeling comfortable anymore. And I just figured, well, I've been wearing these same shoes for over a year. That probably has something to do with it.
The
So,
biggest thing I see with is what exactly what you're saying is that people wear the same shoe size, sneaker size as their high heel shoe. And typically you should be a whole size or a half or a whole size bigger than that in your sneakers because your
oh,
toes swell, especially in the
mm.
heat. So you're probably feeling that pinky toe tenderness and stuff because they were a little too small for you. But um and
Well,
that is
these
something.
are really comfortable. I like
Yeah.
them, but again, I did a quiz and I'm like, and so,
That's more
but
than
they're
most people do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they seem more cushiony
Yep.
Yeah.
than the
Yeah.
Brooks. Yeah,
Glycerin is really, really cushy.
yeah. So, and I liked that because I'm like, let me be running on a little cloud,
Yeah.
and it does it. But then my concern was, well, if they're more cushiony, am I gonna have more swamp feet? But so far, I like them, and honestly, I did reach out to Lee, and I was like, "Dadgummit, like this actually does make a difference."
Well, I mean, so most shoes, somewhere in the range of 400 to 500 miles, right, Maria? Because
Yeah.
there is actually an energy, like they're pushing back up on your foot so that
Mhm.
and when that ends, then we call the shoe dead. So your shoes were probably dead, and now not only are you more cushy because now you haven't packed down the cushioning, but it actually is giving your back to your body, and you will feel the difference when a shoe is dead.
Yeah. And you'll start aching on both sides of the body and feeling kind of yucky. It just doesn't feel as springy. So you did you're doing a lot of the right
Oh,
things
Meredith, I'm so
naturally.
proud.
I know.
Including she ran her like a 5K that she trained for. So because she said she's done something, you a lot of people have walked, or jogged 5Ks, but this one you seem especially proud of because it was something that you'd put the time and effort into.
Well, and there's a lovely participation, medal. So
No, no,
I
no.
like
That
that.
is not a participation. We call that is a finisher's medal, right?
Okay.
Not everybody gets it just because you had to start and you had to finish that race to get it. So it's not participation.
Well, this is, goes to show how few of these I've done because it was at Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota, which is lovely. But I see what I think is the finish line. There's all the cones set up, and I'm like, yes, I'm almost there. So after struggling to do this, I decide now I can hit the gas. I'm going to finish strong. And so my short little legs, I pump and pump it. And then I realized, Meredith, you're an idiot because that was just a turn and I still had like another, quarter of a mile to go. And so, but I did. So I'm like, I just got to go with it. And so I powered through, but I felt like a real nerd because, I hit the gas a little too early, but
But you also
I,
knew instinctively, it looks like Maria, she knew she was trying to negative split, like to
I
make
know.
sure
It's
you have
kind of
enough left in
crazy.
the tank. You're doing all
You're
the
doing a
right
lot
things.
of things right. Maybe you're just a natural runner. I'm just saying.
oh, I don't know. I don't
all
know, but
Don't
all
fight
these
it. Don't fight it.
all these years, all these years. So
How did you train differently
yeah.
for the 5K? I'm just curious.
I didn't like literally. I had just when I first started doing my little run around the building, and talking to, some of the officers here, they mentioned that they, do this 5K. It's the sup and run, and it helps veterans, and they do it every year. And they said, "Oh, are you going to do this with us this year?" And I said, "Well, we'll see." And then, I ended up saying, "Fine, I'll do it." So I think if, more than anything, it wasn't so much that I purposely trained. It's just that I didn't stop
Good for you.
You
jogging.
didn't stop the whole
So do you want to
5K?
do it again?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I did not do it this year. But, I'm not completely opposed to it. But I think too, being a part of the BPD team, also there was the draw of there being beverages at the end, so that was helpful. But you know, I I might try it again, maybe one of the other, charity races, because I think for me, the Special Olympics torch run, things like that. If there's that kind of extra built-in aspect of it, that I'm benefiting a cause. I like that idea.
So what you'd said before when we were chatting that you'd done some 5Ks, the one out at the airport where you're actually running on the tarmac
hmm
but you had just done that one for fun, things like that. Even though we all run for fun, it's the name of the game, right? It's all for, but with basically without training. So did you notice
Right.
a difference between ones that you were out there to just finish the 3.1 miles versus the one where it was like, hey, I've put the work in, I'm going to get to that finish line?
Yes, in the fact that I tried to find a way to keep going without, taking those little, walk breaks or those sorts of things, I would sort of mentally find someone in front of me and, say, okay, if I can keep up with that person, and so I would just sort of randomly like pick these people like, okay, am I falling behind that person or am I catching up to that person? So I think it was just putting myself in a different, like, frame of mind, whereas the
You're
other ones
killing
that
me.
I
There's studies on this
Yeah.
too, right?
I was like,
Like
"Maria."
literally, you're killing me today.
well,
She
the other ones that I've done, like when they opened the top, of the Leroy Salmon, Expressway, that for me was just like, "Oh, this is so cool. Cars haven't been up here yet." And so that was really more like sightseeing. Same thing with the one at Tampa International Airport was like, "Oh, this is cool. I'm on the runway." So it was more about that experience versus, simply trying to not, come in last. And I think, I mean, I don't know that my time was overly great. I think I was in the middle of the, for females. I think I was somewhere in the middle,
That's where
but
most of us are. That's where
Yeah.
but so
I'm
Maria
just
yes,
laughing because
yes.
I literally read a study yesterday about how when you're running in a 5K, our brains are programmed to shut it down because we're hurting our body. And that the best way to get out of that, because we are absolutely fine, is to focus on a runner in front of you and what's going on around you and the experience as opposed to what's going on inside your body. So again, I think you should just be a runner.
Well, and so my biggest issue is my physically my legs feel fine, but I get so thirsty. So thirsty. And so that's why throughout the day I try to just constantly be drinking water, but even and maybe it's because Meredith's a dum dum that tries to run at 5:30 in the evening in Florida. But it's really I just get so thirsty. And I'm like, Meredith, you're not going to die. You're not in a desert.
Mhm.
Literally, your building is right there. But I think that's kind of the bigger problem for me versus my legs being tired or
Yeah.
whatever.
You ha
Well, we did a whole show on that,
yeah.
on hydration. So
So
I
I
will
Yeah,
tell you,
Lee,
you
I
probably should
reached
listen
out
to
to
that.
Lee. Yes, she sent me some suggestions. So
because
You're doing a lot of things right. I mean, for a beginner runner, I'm like, wow, you're doing a lot of things right.
yeah, sort of inherently that we have to be taught and then retaught and then reminded to do
Yeah.
especially things. But I sent her that she can have a handheld that connects to your hands. You're not having to grasp hold of like a water bottle. It secures to your hand so that if if you wanted to do that. And then I said you need more than just water. So that was there's a
Salt.
whole we have a
Yeah.
whole episode about electrolytes. And then she said, I'm not a big enough runner for electrolytes. And I was like, that is incorrect.
Incorrect in Florida.
So she missed one. She doesn't get a 100 on this test today, but
Like a
she yeah.
99.5.
So if
well, I'm going to try that because I'm sure it does make a difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, anything to if I can do the entire parking garage without, kind of taking those little breaks. I did 3 of the 4 parking garages in our downtown area in a day. Um,
Wow.
Good for
right,
you.
but I worked out with one of our very fit captains, and almost immediately I realized it was a giant mistake. However, I was like, "Okay, well, I'm doing this now, so let's try it."
You seem
And
to
I
have no fear, and that's kind of what I like. How do you like? I mean, a lot of people would be really intimidated by. I see a lot of people that are intimidated by doing something that other people are doing. What? How is that? Just naturally, you have confidence in that way, or did you have to get over that?
I think, well, I think that I don't have a lot of fear about these things, but also too, when I joined a police department, I inherited 130 brothers for the most part, and some sisters, but it's like, well, you can't quit,
Yeah,
it's like, no, you're like that's not an option. You're going to do this. And I think, again, the whole reason why I started this is to see where am I at, at my age. I'm not going to the law enforcement academy, but could I do what, these men and women who are, they want to dedicate their lives to being in law enforcement. I should be able to do the very minimum if they can do the very minimum. So
I kind of
and
love
I'm
that.
happy to say I can do 50 sit-ups without stopping now. So that was something too. I'm like, well, you have to be able to do 25. Can I do 25? And the answer was no. But now I can. So it's really having those little benchmarks to, kind of mark my progress more than anything.
How do you do
I
on the
love that.
push-ups? Because I can do exactly one.
I'm
And it's
not
not
as
even a good one.
I'm not as good at push-ups, but most women are. Most women, they're always going to do better at sit-ups. This is again just from, what I've learned now after sitting in on so many of these recruiting tryouts. It's just women aren't going to be as strong as push-ups, and men aren't going to be as strong as sit-ups. So, I think that's just normal. So for me, it's definitely the case. I can do okay. I think I can make it to 25 push-ups, but I'm struggling.
Yeah, those just take practice. They take practice like anything else.
Yeah.
I haven't practiced. I don't.
Well, see, listen, Lee, if I can
That's true.
accept running
Exactly.
as a part of my life.
Um,
Maybe next year's New Year's resolution, Lee. Maybe.
no, I don't know.
Just
It,
start with 5 and work your way up.
right now, I am starting with one, and I'm having a struggle with the one. But so yeah, when I worked out for the show, we had a personal trainer come and work with me so that when she came on the show, we would have things to talk about. And I did one push up. She's like, "You gotta. There's nowhere to go but up. Like there's no, you can only do more than that because."
Yeah, that is true.
But I was very proud of you for seeing like I'm working with all of these men and women and what let me be a part of that in a way that maybe other people who were not out in the field would have done. So it's very very honorable of you.
Well, so far, my suggestion that we have civilian SWAT and all we do is hand out water, that's not, I've not sold my police department on that, but I'm going to keep trying.
Here's another question. Did you notice anything else in your life changing when you added this stuff in? Did you notice any like sleep benefits or did you notice any other benefits just other than just feeling good?
I think for me, honestly, it's really more about the mental health aspect. Like I said, I do find myself feeling like, oh, today didn't go the way I wanted it to, or man, this was not nearly as exciting of a day as I had hoped. Those sorts of things. So I think mentally that helped. I think I do push myself more, so I think there is that aspect of building more confidence just in general of of putting myself out there and trying new things, like, doing a workout with, some of our more fit officers, that I'm like, well, he hasn't killed anyone yet, meaning,
in the
other people
workouts.
that choose to work out with him. So, so I think for me, it's more of that mental health aspect, that
Absolutely.
confidence, and, like I said, having those benchmarks to kind of celebrate, the fact that, oh, before when I first started, I could not make it halfway around,
Yeah.
our building complex, which is basically 2 blocks is what our building takes up. And you know, I remember celebrating when I could make it all the way around without stopping once.
Yeah.
And, now I can do, it multiple times. So I think that's what it is for me, is more of having that confidence in myself to stick with it and to
Yeah.
celebrate when I actually do, have those achievements. But also too, it's like, well, also not beating myself up when I do manage to come up with an excuse not to
Yeah. So
run.
remember, when you are consistent, then you get to skip a day occasionally.
So Maria has a phrase that's like, don't let perfection get in the way of good. Is that what it is,
Yeah.
Maria? And so like you're doing something really good for yourself. So, but don't make it be like, oh, I wasn't perfect. I missed this day. So now
Yeah.
I'll just let it go. It's you're already doing something good, and you are taking the rest days, which I feel like a lot of people are like, I'm gonna work out every day, and then they're tired and their muscles are burned out. They don't understand why it hurts so bad, so then they stop completely. So again, you get a big check mark for having rest days, because none of us are getting any younger, and we got to give out, our bodies need exercise. I mean, need exercise, but it also needs time to
Absolutely.
let your body rest.
Yeah, and the mental health aspect of it is huge. I mean, I would say now that I'm not a competitive runner anymore, I work out only for my mental health.
Hmm.
My physical health obviously is an added benefit, but even over vacation, my kids wanted me to wakeboard, and I was like, actually, I would like to try it, but all I could think about was falling and getting hurt and then not being able to exercise daily, which would hurt my mental health so badly that I was like, it's just not worth it to me. I want to be able to exercise daily, and it's
Yeah.
important for my mental health.
Well, and for me, getting older, although I'm clearly only 26, I'm kidding, but when I started looking at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, Meredith, like, you eat terribly. Meaning I don't eat a ton of, junk food, but I mean, I live on protein bars. I'm like, that's not good. You should try vegetable. And I knew I didn't drink enough water and I don't get enough sleep. And I'm like, you can fix some of these things. So
Absolutely.
you might not eat a vegetable and you're probably not going to get more sleep, but you can get some physical activity and you can, you know, drink more water, which those two, kind of go hand in hand.
Do you not
So
like vegetables?
yeah, they're fine. I
I
don't
just
cook.
wonder, because I
I
just love
don't
vegetables, but
no,
some
I
people
don't
just don't
cook.
like them.
So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel the
And
same way,
so
Meredith. I
I know.
I don't get enough vegetables, and then I'll do the thing that I tell everyone else not to do about running, is I'll say like, I'm gonna eat vegetables, and so this week I do nothing but like eat. I buy all these things, and then it's that one week, and then I'm like, ugh, that was really hard,
yeah,
and then I'll go another month before I'll eat another vegetable. It's not that I don't like them. I think they're hard to cook. I don't. I get
exactly.
frustrated.
I think everything is hard to
Yeah.
cook. So so yeah, I'm like, well, let me take my victories when I get them. So like the victory for me is, oh, I actually do drink more water now and I actually do get some physical activity. So we'll work our way towards the vegetables.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Yes, if someone else is cooking them, then I'm more inclined to eat them. But if I wouldn't even know where to start. So
So
That's funny.
so
Lee, do you need me to cook you some vegetables on
yes.
Mondays when I come to your
Yes,
house?
please. Oh my gosh, yes. I do like vegetables. I just, what I end up doing is frozen broccoli, because it's like you put that thing in
Oh,
the
mhm.
nobody
microwave.
likes frozen broccoli.
But it checks off the list, and then I'll
Uh,
eat, like I said, and then and then you put some salt on it. Maria tells me we're supposed to salt our food, so I put a lot of salt on it.
You can't put enough salt on on frozen broccoli for me.
But
Yeah,
so I try.
that's true.
I try, and then I just eat it. It becomes a thing that like I tell people
Well, my,
about running is it shouldn't be a thing you have to do, but eating that frozen broccoli is just a thing I have to do.
Yeah.
yeah, my aunts have tried. Oh, have you tried this meal service? We got these free, in the mail. Why don't you try it? And I'm like, okay. And it's still, I think I toasted the bread, the baguette that came with it one night and ate that. So, but the thought of asparagus with pork chops sounded like a great idea.
Just
But yeah, I just couldn't get there.
well,
Well, look, she's eating bread too, Lee. So
Right.
she's doing
She's also
doing a lot of
carbing.
things
Yes,
right.
yes. Along with those protein bars, as long as you're adding in some carbs, because that's what your body is using when you're running around. And if you run out of those carbs, Maria, what body just can't
Doesn't like running anymore.
doesn't
It's
like
not going to
running.
like running. Nope.
So all we have a lot of high protein type fad diets that we
Yeah,
talked about.
which we're going to stay away from.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
the
I
fads.
definitely don't.
Yeah.
I don't do a fad diet, but I just kind of tend to eat the same things all the time. But I've started to incorporate, I'm trying, to eat more eggs, and I'll throw in some avocado and I'll do this. So I try,
Yeah.
Good girl.
you
You're
know.
doing well. I'm impressed.
Yep.
So far, I'm impressed.
Man, Maria is not impressed often.
Not easily impressed right here. So you're doing well.
Oh,
Maria, what
good.
if since Meredith is doing so well, what are some of the other questions you get when a client comes to you when so they've been trying to run for a year, and like what are some of the things that you do typically hear that maybe Meredith is already doing correctly that you have to change when a client comes to you?
Honestly, the thing that I have to change the most is speed, actually. Almost everybody that comes to me is running medium pace or faster on their easy runs. And we spend a lot of time slowing people down to that jog. Almost everybody that comes to me. So that would be the number one thing. The other thing that I see a lot, and I have a fair amount of new clients right now, actually, and I see a lot of low vitamin D. There's a lot of that, and a lot of people that are following Instagram diets like it used to be a few years ago, low carb. Now it's fasting. I have a lot of people that are fasting, and so we have to correct those things before we can fix running. Because if your cortisol is too high and you're trying to get better at running, it's very difficult to do. So those are the things I correct mostly.
Yeah, and those are things, if you were not trying to be a consistent runner, might not be as your vitamin D would be bad. But like if you're not trying to be a consistent exerciser or runner, then some of those things aren't as bad. But you can't combine the two, right?
Yeah, and vitamin D, actually, most people are deficient in vitamin D just because of sunscreen, because we have to wear sunscreen for the sun, and we just don't absorb it a lot from our food. So that's pretty typical. But if you have low vitamin D and you're running, and that can get you stress fractures and shin splints and all sorts of different things. So we have to correct that right away. But not usually somebody that's running 3 days a week, 3 miles.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of can roll with most things.
Well, Maria has a lot of thoughts on things, generally, Meredith. So we gave her a drill every week that she has where she can just let people in on her thoughts. So today's coach's drill is don't be afraid of running.
This is so funny because I didn't hear Meredith's story before today, which I didn't want to know because I wanted to hear all about her. But I'm going to say in the coach's drill, be like Meredith. Don't be afraid of running. Don't be afraid of people around you that are doing things that you want to do. I hear so many people say, I want to be a runner, but I can't do that. And it's just not a thing. Like, you can run. We are built to run. So if you want to, try and take little steps. Try to find some runners around you that can help. We all want more runners, so we are glad to help. And don't be afraid to jump in a sport that you've never tried before. there is a high likelihood that after 6 weeks, you will love it and it will change your life in more than just your physical fitness. So do it. Be like Meredith.
Be like Meredith, right? Because it can be
Wow.
really scary. I mean, we even going to a new running group is a scary thing when you're already a runner, but starting something new at any age is tough.
Yeah. And I was an overweight kid. And I was an overweight college girl because I gained the freshman 15. And my best friend was a runner and I wanted to be like her so badly. And I just had told myself I couldn't do it. That's just not me. I'm not an athlete. I'm a musician. I'm not an athlete. I'm a musician. I've told that to myself my whole life. And now I look back and I'm like, dang, like I was totally an athlete. I could have been an athlete as a kid. And I didn't know. So I encourage people to change their mindset on who they think they are and change it to who they might be if they tried. That's all.
So kudos to Meredith for for doing
Yeah,
that. I mean,
I'm impressed. Like most people would have been intimidated. I've had people, I want people to come to track often because I'm like, track is the best way to like get into it and be with a group of people and have fun. But people are so intimidated, they just won't come. They're like, no, I'm not a runner. I can't go to track. And it's just such a silly thing. It's not true and it's in your head. So I'm really proud of you for doing that. That's a huge, awesome thing that you did.
any other
You guys
questions?
are guilt tripping me into doing this more.
More often, right? Did you have any other questions, Meredith, that you got expert Maria on running? If there's anything that you want to know or you're interested in
The only
trying?
other thing is I don't wear shorts, never have, never will. So I keep trying to find leggings that are comfortable,
Mhm.
and I feel like the compression is helpful. But again, Meredith is an Amazon shopper,
Uh-huh.
so I think that's my only thing is finding something that is comfortable to wear that is not shorts, because I'm just never going to be a shorts
Are
person.
you are the ones that you're wearing causing problems now or are they they're just
Just I need something that's lighter weight, but I feel like more compression feels better when I'm running.
okay.
And
They
maybe
do
that's just because I feel like, oh, it's holding things into place. I don't know.
no, compression is a thing and actually running leggings specifically have more compression, but there's different levels of compression that you can get. If you wanted to spend some money, 2XU has a really great compression line for women. And it's a very high compression. You probably would love those.
And
And
what was the name of it again?
it's 2XU, two, and then the times sign, and then you. They're pretty expensive, but they will last you eternity. Like you can buy one pair and you could be fine with those. Also, just type in compression wear for runners, and
Mhm.
a bunch of things will come up. It's actually really great for your recovery after too. So yeah, just try it. They're just kind of tough to get into, but once you find the pair that works for you, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
because
a
Tough on Amazon, but
Yeah.
although Amazon is getting better and better, compression is just a little bit more expensive.
yeah. Okay.
because
Well, I'll do some more Googling then.
Yeah.
Marie, you actually years ago I really messed up my hamstring and like late into marathon training. Like I think it was 18, 19 miles. So I was not far from the marathon. And you sent me, the kind to buy that were super compression
Yeah.
so that I could really help my legs recover. And I mean, it was,
Yeah,
I
and it
never get-
holds the muscles in place a little bit better so they're not working as hard. Like her hamstring was bothering her and I wanted her hamstring to do a little less work while the other muscles kind of assisted a little better. So, yeah,
But when I
there's
got them,
some
they
really
were so
good
tiny.
compression.
I was like, I
Yeah,
don't think
they
I'm
are
going to be
hard
able
to get into.
these. But you
Yeah.
you put them on, and they do hold in. But it's not just for the aesthetic either. I mean, it is
Yeah.
actually doing real work for your body.
Well, I have had some problems with the back of one of my legs, and
With
I
the
don't
hamstring.
know Yeah, and it just kind of it's been around now for a while, and I don't know when I did it, or I mean literally do the same things all the time. So, but it may have been on one of my, sprints up the parking garage, because some
Probably.
days I run faster than others. It
Mhm.
depends on whatever music I have on, because I have a running playlist now also. Jeez.
Look at
Um,
you.
So, what
I'm
about
the runner that's not a runner.
yeah.
I know.
That's why I called her the run hating runner. But
Yeah.
so when she's running up that ramp, why don't you you should be using a slightly different gait, correct?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
you want to shorten your stride. I think short steps, big arms when you're going up.
Well, it's hard to get much shorter of a stride for me because I'm 3 feet tall. But yeah, I found myself
You're
because that first
5'1".
Well,
that
I
first
think a lot of the
ramp,
shorter runners though, they are conscious of that, so they and tend to overstep.
and I definitely don't when I'm go because the ramp is such a steep
Yeah.
incline that I almost have to like scrunch down even
Yeah.
more to
Yep.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yep.
it's almost like a partial, not a squat, but you know what I mean, just because it's
Yep.
so
So
steep
steep.
Yeah.
going up that.
So just be
So
I'd be
careful not
willing
to.
to bet that's
Yeah.
probably how you did it, but
Mhm.
I would just be careful until it gets better. I would just be careful on those hills, and I would probably just run easy until it got better.
all
Well,
right.
those were wonderful. You scored a 99 on your test today, Meredith. You didn't even know that you were
The
under a
test she
test.
didn't even know she was taking.
Right. It's because she was just doing it all right. So I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate what you're doing for the Bradenton Police Department. And any questions, we love talking about running. So any questions you
Yeah.
ever have, just reach out.
I know where to find you. So
Yeah. Yes, you do. All right.
Awesome. It was nice to meet you, Meredith.
you too. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.